Hey everyone, today is Tuesday, the 24th of September 2019. This is The Gap, episode 486. I'm Lawrie. Joab Gilroy's deaf. How you going, Joab?
I'm deaf now. If that's you, Luke, you're a high piercing ringing in my ear now. I actually listened back to some of last week's podcast, and I could very vaguely hear you in the back, like looping back as well. So I will make sure that you're a lot quieter this time. Yeah, so we don't have the
Right.
echo. Yeah, there must be a lot of bleed on this headset. Uh,
Sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes it's just like, and because we're recording over the internet, you've got a delay anyway.
yeah,
And
right.
so it's never going to line up perfect.
That's true. That's true. And of course, it's getting hot in Australia now, so I've got the windows open, which means we're going to hear more planes, unfortunately. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I guess just
Move.
listen to this
Just move.
fucking plane. Just move. Like, where the fuck am I going to move? I moved literally to the opposite side of the fucking city, and I'm still under a fucking flight path. There is literally nowhere. Like, I'd have to live in the fucking CBD, which I just can't afford yet. One day, soon, when the ship comes in,
You get that meme
cash.
money.
Yeah, I need that meme money. It's just, I don't know what it is. All my memes, I haven't been making money from memes yet. I don't understand.
Right.
Yeah. Um. Anyway, what's going on, Luke? What's happening?
I've got all my PC parts are arriving.
Oh yeah.
So I've ordered a new PC, which I haven't talked about yet, but yeah, started specking up a new computer. Um, Basically put everything together on like PC Part Picker, which if people don't know is like a aggregator site that sort of looks at different shops or storefronts and kind of gets the best deals. And so you put the parts in that you want, and then it's like, all right, this is the places you should buy them from. And it's a really good site. It kind of updates regularly. Like you can go in there and it's got like daily deals and things like that, so that you get like pretty spot on price or the best price that you can kind of get. And then they also do things like build guides and things like that. So if you're not sure about like what is good, you can kind of look at that as a reference. And there's different sort of tiers like price ranges or that sort of stuff. If you want to go AMD or if you want to kind of go like an NVIDIA card or something like that, you can kind of look at different builds that people have kind of set up, and it gives you a really good reference of what you need. And also, the other thing it does that I really like is that if you're not really sure about building computers, it does a great job of sort of like giving you an idea of what's going to go together in terms of parts and what isn't. Like if
Well,
you
it'll
buy
flat
a
out tell you if you've got like the wrong chipset for your motherboard or whatever. Like
sure, yeah,
it's pretty awesome in that sense.
yeah, it'll be like, hey, this is not compatible with this thing you're buying over here, and
Mm.
it'll tell you. Or like if you buy a case or something like that, it'll be like, this isn't going to fit
Yeah.
in this part of the case. And that's generally based off of just other people's purchases, and so it just got this giant database of things that work and things that don't work.
Yeah.
And then there's stuff on there with like user reviews and like what's a good part and what isn't a good part.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an awesome site. So I basically just spec'd up a PC for the most part using that site. Did a lot of research into parts and a lot of research into cases. Yeah, and just kind of what I kind of wanted.
Yeah.
Put it all together. I was still sort of unsure about a motherboard. I was still kind of looking around as to what I should get, and I was aiming for an i7 9700K. Was where I was going. Everything I looked at, a lot of the AMD reviews started coming out the last couple of weeks
Yeah.
for their new chipsets, and for the most part, the pricing is it's cheaper in terms of pricing when you compare it to the Intel equivalent or what they're trying to say is the Intel equivalent. But all the benchmarks and all their results that I've seen that are coming out are saying that it's not really doing much in terms of gaming. It's more in terms of like I guess multitasking and things like that. That's where it's doing a lot better.
Yeah.
And then so when you start putting it up against like higher level AMD cards, and then getting an idea of like what's going to be on par in terms of performance, you end up spending the same amount of money between an AMD and an Intel anyway, and so it's just, or in it even more. And so just everything that I've sort of looked into recently, I'm like, I'm just going to keep going Intel. It just doesn't seem worth it at the moment. Like what I've always had, I've never had any issues with Intel, and it just, everything I looked at was like, for gaming, it's really not a big difference, or it's not any difference at all. It's only good for what is it, multitasking. You remember when Threadrippers came out and there was this big fucking deal about that, and then no one uses them anymore. They're all like, they're dead. They're like, no, that was kind of, they got rid of them. So I was looking at the 9700, and then I kind of started buying bits and pieces. And then the day after I started buying stuff, there was a deal on for an i9 9900 and a motherboard combo, which was something stupid like $160 to $200 US off as a combo package. And I was like, fuck it, all right. And it was $10 more than what I'd spec'd up. So I was going to pay $10 more and get a 9900, an i9 instead. So I was like, done, easy.
Yeah.
It was like a 1 day sale or something like that. So yeah, I pulled the trigger on that almost immediately. And,
I remember when you sent me a message saying it was there. I'm like, go.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Does you wouldn't have static ice over there, would you?
No.
Because when I built this thing, I still had to go on static ice to get better prices. Like, you could get good prices, but you can still get better prices from static ice. Like, you still save a bit of money. At the end of the day, you had to decide what you wanted to, like, what it was worth to you, whether it was better to just get everything from the one place, or a bit of mental maths required. But you could save a bit of money over PC Part Picker if you want on static ice. But it's probably more consistent in the States, right? Like, it's probably easier for them to track because you got like Newegg and Amazon. Is Newegg still good over there?
Yeah, Newegg's really good. Most of my stuff has been either from Newegg or Amazon.
Yeah.
There was a third company on the list that I kept seeing pop up.
Right.
And that's where I was going to get the CPU and motherboard from. But then this other deal came up on Newegg, and I was like, yep, easy. So everything's come from Amazon and Newegg. So yeah, it's good.
And the other site I used was Logical Increments. That was a good one that's like sort of just a very broad. You chuck in your location, and then you can look at. They've got like builds at every price point, like from basically the lowest to like dumb shit, like the computer you're building, and you get an idea that way of where your bottlenecks are going to be. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't make sense, Luke, to have an i9 and then only have 16 gig of RAM, because you'll have a giant fucking bottleneck in fucking RAM, which I believe I told you on Facey, and you rectified that situation, didn't you? You got 32 gig of RAM. Don't you?
This was something else I looked into, and the difference between 32 and 16 in terms of performance in gaming was about, I think they were saying it was probably about 1 to 2% difference.
It's not about performance. It's about the fact that, like, Nate and I, when we play Battlefield, we literally have to flush our memory, because if you've used Chrome that day, you cannot fucking play Battlefield, because they're both giant fucking memory hogs. But like, more games are going to go in that same direction, you lunatic. Like, it's just about having the spare, essentially. Like, yeah, there is a performance increase, but like, the other thing is it's also a improvement for a whole bunch of things. Like the idea that you don't do fucking video editing when we spend fucking 20 minutes before every fucking podcast while you try to work out how to get fucking video to work is hilarious to me. But yeah, like, I mean, you may as well. Why wouldn't you? So you did get 32 gig RAM, right?
Yeah, I changed the RAM. There was a sale on
yeah.
RAM as well, so I went from whatever I was going to get, and then I just got the 32 as well.
Lucky.
So yeah, it's all around. The parts are coming. The case showed up today.
Cool.
So the only thing I'm waiting for is the motherboard and CPU, which is apparently due on Friday. I don't know why it's taking longer than everything else, but I guess I ordered on a weekend, and it's not directly through Amazon. It's through one of their like partner. I don't know. You know, you buy things from Amazon, and it's not always directly from Amazon. It's from someone else.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff. So
that's always the hairy part, right? Like, if it's not being fulfilled by Amazon,
it still arrives. Like, it's still
delivered
by Amazon. So it's all Amazon Prime stuff. It's just different company. Like, a lot of that stuff is done that way. So yeah, it's arriving. Get to put it together, I guess, maybe on the weekend, and then we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it all works.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. And how's your cable management going to go?
What's that?
Yeah, I'm not huge on the idea either, but we were tweeting yesterday. Nate did a case review, I believe, for OzGamers, and they were shaming him for his cable management, and we both cracked out with far more heinous cable management. Well, like, my cable management is actually pretty tops. It's just I've got a fucking bunch of dangling hard drives because I just don't fucking care. Like, hard drives, they're SSDs. They weigh about fucking 4 grams. Like, how the fuck are they gonna? It took me fucking, like, I needed to fucking do weights at the gym to fucking push the fucking things in. Like, how the fuck are they gonna wiggle out at 4 grams? There's no fucking way. Like, why wouldn't all my SSDs just dangle somewhere, right? Your cable management, though, is a fucking nightmare. Like, I thought Nate's was pretty bad. He's got a cable tie around some cables doing literally nothing. Like, it's just there. It exists, right? Like Jason M said on Twitter, because we were tweeting our terrible cables on Twitter. Like Jason M said, it's one of those, like, oh, it's in the box, I better fucking chuck it in the case type things. Like, when you're making IKEA furniture, and you're like, why do I have all these extra fucking nuts? You just start fucking hammering nuts in all over the place. That's that. Yours, I don't know. I just don't understand. I don't understand how it got like it is. What are you going to do with that computer?
Oh, it's going to be a second computer.
Like, it's just like you're not going to touch anything in it, are you?
I'm taking out the hard drives that I need.
How are you going to get to the fucking hard drives? You're going to have to fucking mount an expedition.
They're easy.
You're gonna have to get surgery tools. You're gonna have to, like, clamps, and then you fucking clamp open the fucking dig on in, fucking get to the fucking SATA cables and get them fucking unplugged. Like, how are you gonna get to the motherboard? Go on Twitter and look at the fucking picture he tweeted. There's no way you get to the fucking hard drives without significant fucking
hard
effort.
Drives are easy because they're just on the side. Most of those cables are the hard drives.
No,
I've got 6.
Unless you're getting new fucking SATA cables, you've still got to get to the motherboard. It doesn't matter where the hard drives are. Unbelievable. Anyway, I should probably put the sides on my case, and then there wouldn't be so much dust. But, you know.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Yeah. Good times. Well, yeah. So you'll have a brand new computer, and your spare computer will be better than my computer. So that'll be nice. That'll be fun for you. Now, what graphics card are you going to put in the spare computer? Are you just going to go off Intel?
The 980.
Oh, you still got the 980. Nice. Yeah. Okay, cool. Nice.
Yep.
Well, And cool. That's it. What else we got? Should we talk about? Oh, let's talk about not game stuff before we get to game stuff. Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Let's do it. Audiobooks that I hate. I've put down here. I've been listening to a audiobook called The Land, which is
basketball.
No. It is about. Let me see if I can find it. It's in a genre called Lit RPG. I'm gonna sneeze. Lit RPG, which is literature RPG, where they meld the like MMO concepts with literature itself, right? So you've got, yeah, basically the two things. You've got a proper novel, a proper story, but it's also got RPG like concepts tied within it,
right?
And yeah. Fucking, I didn't hate it, right? But I had to stop listening to it because every single time, it would find some gear, the audiobook would like read out all of the stats. So it would be like, right, I'm going to do it with Borderlands, right? You find you're playing you're reading the novelization of Borderlands 3. And it's like, Mose went up to a chest and found refined Starkiller, damage 13, accuracy 80%, handling 65%, reload time 1.6 seconds, fire rate 5.07 seconds, magazine size 17, 19 damage per second, 33% chance of fire damage. Has to be some kind of thermal oscillator, plus 42% weapon charge speed, 2.9% weapon zoom. Mose found Iron-Willed Marshal, 121 damage, 56% accuracy, 56% handling, 1.8 sec. It did this for every single fucking item. So it did it for the fucking helmet, and then the fucking chest, and then the pants, and then the gloves, and then the fucking swords, and the fucking potions, and just non-stop, over and over and over and over again. And I'm like, I can't do this. I don't read this shit when I'm playing a fucking video game. I look at it. I look at whether or not it is fucking blue or green, and if it's anything under fucking blue, I just ignore it. And if it's like now that where I'm up to in fucking Borderlands 3, if it's under purple, I ignore it. Like half the purples I don't even fucking look at. If I look at it and it comes up with a symbol of a fucking pistol, I'm not picking that shit up. I don't give a fuck. I don't want a fucking purple pistol. Get the fuck out of here. Like, absolutely ridiculous, but it just did it over and over. Like, half this fucking audiobook has to be this motherfucker reading out fucking stats of fucking armor. And I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I want to fucking top myself. And so I went and looked it up. And, yeah, apparently it's one of the absolute worst for that exact, like, problem. But also reviews, it's like 6 books in, and I was reading some Goodreads reviews, and people like, I don't know how we're up to book 6, but we still haven't resolved half the storylines from book 1. I'm like, all right, well, yeah, I'm done. I'm out. I'm full out. I can't do it anymore. So I had to go look for another fucking audiobook. And I found The Metropolitan Man, which is rational fan fiction. I don't know if you've heard of this genre. I gave up on Lit RPG basically because I couldn't find, like, I just needed something to fucking listen to while I was rolling. So I gave up. I'm just like, I'll just get fucking Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality, which is another rational fan fiction. Rational fan fiction. Fan fiction, obviously, is, you know, all that stuff where people write their own stories about established characters. Mm-hmm. May or may not involve gratuitous amounts of fucking porn. Usually involves way too much porn if it's put up on DeviantArt. The more legitimate stuff does not involve any porn at all, and is usually just, you know, exploring the characters in different ways. Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality is one where, like, if Harry Potter, instead of being some, like, little kid who doesn't know what he's doing, is like this fucking, like, Spock-esque logician, like this fucking crazy, like always thinks the most logical parts through. So, there's a good portion of it's one of the biggest fan fictions I've ever seen, and it's like something like 1,000,000 words or some shit. I can't remember exactly how many, maybe 800,000 words. To give you a frame of reference, your average novel is like 80,000 words. So it's a doozy. It's no worm, but it's big. And yeah, it's just like there's a good fucking book's worth of fucking words about how Quidditch doesn't make sense from a logical point of view, and all that kind of stuff, right? Like just it like devolves into Harry Potter finding hideously unethical but like logically sound ways to fuck people up, right? Interesting if you're interested in the thought exercise of magic and science. Anyway, the Metropolitan Man is in the same vein. This hyperlogical character deconstructs something in fiction. Metropolitan Man in this case is if Lex Luthor was a psychopath, and B, which I think he sociopath. I don't know. And B, hyperlogical, which I think they've always tried to do, but they never really approached it with the same like fervor for rationality. Because the real rationality dorks like have these fucking like mad fucking like rabbit holes that they go down. They'll break down literally everything so that at some point like the most rational concept you could like rational move you could make doesn't make sense on casual glance, but then you like if you add up all the fucking dominoes, it does make sense. That kind of stuff. But yeah, this is told from Lex Luthor's perspective, and basically his first encounter with Superman, like how he's going to deal with the concept of Superman, how anyone would deal with the concept of an alien god landing and revealing that he is essentially all powerful, right? Which is I think is a fascinating topic. Obviously it's been explored a number of times in comics. The Boys, if you haven't watched it, is awesome. Doesn't go anywhere near as far as this does. Irredeemable is obviously I think Irredeemable might be my favorite fucking comic book series of all time. So yeah, like that explores the same thing. Like definitely a topic that I really like. Brightburn was a movie that came out earlier this year that sort of explored the idea of what if Superman didn't have our best interests at heart. But yeah, from Lex's perspective, it's less that Superman doesn't have our best interests at heart and more that it is inevitable. Like you have to be prepared for the moment where, God decides to flood the fucking world, right? Which is good. I've been reading it on my fucking tablet like a fucking Philistine. I listened to the fucking audiobook and it sounds like it's read by fucking Nathan Fielder. Have you ever watched Nathan For You?
No.
Nathan For You is hands down the most awkward piece of television in human history. Like 100%. I can't watch a full fucking episode. I cannot watch a full fucking episode. It makes me want to die. Like honest to God, I want to like fucking curl up into myself and then just die. I can't do it, right? Flat out. Like think of the most awkward shit you've ever seen. Curb Your Enthusiasm, The UK Office, like a bunch of scenes in Extras. Like none of it compares. Nothing compares to Nathan Fielder going and sincerely pitching to a fucking frozen yogurt owner, like store owner, that he should make a shit flavored frozen yogurt, and then sitting down and having an honest conversation with the man to tell him that making a shit flavored frozen yogurt was a bad idea. Full deadpan, under the premise that he is some sort of business genius. It makes me like I want to die thinking about it, like just thinking about it in general. Anyway, he has a very like particular speaking voice, and the dude reading this fucking audiobook, The Metropolitan Man, sounds just way too much like him. Like way too much like him, and I can't handle it. So I can't fucking listen to it, basically.
Yeah.
So it's ruined that for me. So yeah, there's that. That's that. Audiobooks. I haven't found a good audiobook. I'm out of fucking audiobooks, basically, because I finished fucking my Brandon Sanderson books, and now like, what the fuck am I going to do? I listened to music when I rode this morning. It was fucking pathetic, like some sort of fucking gym rat. I need a fucking
try
book.
Podcasts, gaming podcasts.
The two podcasts that I like to listen to, which are Nathan's Here's My Movie and the IGN Pubcast. Neither of them have fucking put a fucking episode out in the last fucking 2 months. They're not the fucking Gap, okay? They're not like us. They're not fucking every week, no matter what, regardless of the quality. They're saving it for some reason. I'm not sure what. But yeah, they're dragging their feet. So I don't know. If anyone knows of a good podcast, good audiobook, definitely let me know. Do not suggest the fucking Malazan books to me. They are impenetrable as an audiobook. I can't do them, but they are good. They're a good read. But I need something I can listen to. You know, you need to be able to fucking an audiobook, right? Needs to allow you to tune out for a moment, right? Not 7 fucking minutes while you listen to some cunt fucking read out stats from fucking Armour, but like just a moment while, you know, some dickhead cuts you off while driving, right? That's what it needs to be able to do without you missing entire fucking concepts. The Malazan books, it'll be like, what the fuck is going? Like, I don't understand. I must have tuned out at some point, and now we're in some sort of fucking like hovel or something. Like, what the fuck is a burrow? Like, what the fuck is going on in this book? And then, yeah, you go back and read it like a, you know, like a Philistine, and you're like, this is so much simpler now that I'm not like now that I'm giving it my full concentration. Anyway, that's that. Yeah, but yeah, I do love audiobooks. I just fucking oof, yikes. Yeah, there've been some duds, some real duds. Yeah. If you do want a good audiobook, I don't think you listen to audiobooks, but if you do want a good audiobook, check out Brandon Sanderson's fucking Stormlight Archives. What a fucking series. And that's like 180 hours. That's like Brandon Sanderson writes books like we do podcasts, like just too long, like way too long, with no respect for people's time, right? Yeah, it's a beast. Yeah, it's good stuff. And he pumps them out regularly, like we do as well. We're definitely the Brandon Sanderson of podcasts.
Okay,
I feel safe in saying that. Anyway, while we're not talking about video games yet, go and see Ad Astra. Everyone listening to this, go and see Ad Astra. One of the best fucking films I've seen in a long time, and directly contrasting with having already watched, like last week, I watched the worst film I've watched in a long time. Now I watched the best film I've watched in a long time. Brad Pitt is a spaceman, an astronaut going to find his dad, basically. But it's not really like so much about the destination as it is about the journey. Brad Pitt played like it's. Oh my god! It's full of like these fucking like really tight shots of Brad, acting like he's not showing any emotion, acting his balls off, and then these wide shots of space, which are fucking spectacular. I love it to bits. But it's also like all the world building. Like it's not like Interstellar. Interstellar, I think, was very much about the concept of travel itself. Like it was very tied to the travel aspect, right? And then it would show us some awesome places along the way. But it was like that was about the fucking specific people moving from place to place. But what fascinated me about Ad Astra was the fucking world that he was traveling through. There's so much fucking going on. There's this really like subtly fucking dystopic world that I just fucking loved. It reminded me of like Gattaca or Children of Men. You know, like how obviously those were they're bleak, right? They're super bleak. They're bleak movies with this bleak outlook that are actually inherently intensely hopeful, right? I think that's what it is. You know, like Gattaca tells the story of a world that's pretty fucked, and so too Children of Men tells a story of a world that is explicitly fucked. Ad Astra tells a story of a world that is pretty fucked, more Gattaca style. But yeah, it's sort of like the world building throughout it is just this showcase of like awesome storytelling, and otherwise the journey itself is pretty like classic monomyth. You know, the classic story, generic story, I guess, but it's really about everything around it. And then Ad Astra is about like Brad Pitt's personal journey as well, or Brad Pitt's character's personal journey, and then it ends like Children of Men, like Gattaca. It ends on something intensely hopeful, which I think is awesome. And the fucking soundtrack, it's Max Richter is the new fucking Hans Zimmer, I reckon. That dude makes some fucking soundtracks. I'll tell you what, I can't wait till that comes out. Fucking whatever, Google Play, I guess, is how I'm gonna listen to it. Great soundtrack. And yeah, anyway, go see Ad Astra.
Yeah,
Do it.
I was gonna go on the weekend, but we ended up being too busy.
Yeah.
So maybe this weekend we'll get a chance. If I'm not, I might be busy again actually. But yeah, definitely want to go see it.
Nice.
For some reason, I thought Chris Nolan was directing it.
Oh.
But yeah, and it took a while for me to figure that out. I was like, oh, actually, no, he's not.
No, but he's doing something else, right? Like, and it's close, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty soon. Anyway, let's keep this fucking train moving, Joab.
Let's do it.
Detective.
Sure.
It's a board game.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Still no video games on this video game podcast.
It's
classic.
It's gaming related. I don't know. Detective is a co-op board game between 1 to I think 5 players is the max.
Cool.
And it is I guess on the box it says like a modern crime board game.
Right.
So you are basically given 5 cases, and each case has a story, and then all the cases together an overall story that sort of tie a big theme together.
Right.
And the way it works is you've got a very small board. There are a bunch of locations on this board, and down the bottom there is a time track, and then on the side there is a day track. And each case you've got a certain amount of days in order to solve the case. And it starts off with a bunch of sort of leads that you can go down. Maybe a dozen, or half a dozen. For the one I've played, I've only played one so far, half a dozen different leads that you can look into.
Right.
And each lead sort of takes you down this track of, all right, the game, this specific case has 50 cards or something like that. And each card has a bunch of information on there. And sometimes those cards start leading you down into different areas. And each of these cards will sometimes have a time on them. And that's basically how much time you've got to spend investigating this lead. and other times it'll just be maybe like just a bunch of information giving you details about certain stuff. And the interesting thing about this is the cards will sometimes have details on them, and you'll have to look into some of these details a bit further. And the way you do that is either by going to the card that it's referring to on the actual in the deck. So you actually just go through them. They're all sort of numbered. It's not like you're going through this game in order. You sort of just you're following a lead. It'll be like, go read card 113, and then you go try and find card 113, and that's got a bunch of information on it. Sometimes it'll then take you down like another path. And the other way that you go and find look into this this information a bit further is by using a website. And there's like basically like a database of information. You can look up characters. You do things with like forensics. You look at objects within the game that have been sort of logged in there, comparing DNA analysis, fingerprints and whatnot. And that's sort of the other way that you get the information out of this story in this world. Yeah, and then so like a card will say, all right, this is going to take 2 hours to do, and you've only got a certain amount of hours in the day to work. It's limited to something like 8 hours, and so you've got to really decide whether or not you think it's worth investigating this lead that they're giving you, and because it could end up going down this sort of trail. You spend a day or a day and a half looking into this lead, and it just goes nowhere. Like, you've just wasted all this time. As an example, like, it could be interviewing a witness, and it's going to take you a couple hours. It takes you an hour to travel around to the different locations. There's about 5 locations on the board, and you have to visit these locations to do specific tasks. And one of them could be, for instance, the interviewing a witness. And the card will give you like a breakdown of what's going on, sort of like a novel, basically. It's got a bunch of flavor text in there, the conversations to what's happening. And then down the bottom of the card, it might give you like a transcript of that conversation. And that's what you can put into the website and go look at more detailed about what's going on. But down the bottom of the card, it might have like a further lead, like you can push them, dig deeper. And then if you want to do that, you can then spend these tokens that each player sort of gets, each person the team gets. And if you do that, you spend your token, you flip over the card, and sometimes there might be more information on there, and then that'll lead you to like a different card in the deck. And it's sort of like this choose your own adventure type system. And then so that starts taking down like another trail. But maybe like you dig deeper, and you then waste another 3 hours or 2 hours moving your time forward, and you get nothing out of it. And like there's sort of this risk factor that's going on. Like, is it worth, do you think, going and looking into these possible leads further, or do you think there's better chances somewhere else in the game that you've maybe looked into that you can kind of push? So yeah, it does that basically throughout the game. And what happens is, once you reach the end of your time limit, you then go onto the website, and it asks you a series of questions relating to the case that you've been given, and you have to answer them. And I think they're kind of like a series of multiple choice questions. It could be something like A, B, C, D. You kind of got to pick the one you want. And there could be one in there that says like, I don't know. Like, I don't know the answer to the question you're asking me. And sometimes it could be a trick question. Like, none of the answers they're giving you are correct. And if you actually select an incorrect answer, you lose a point from your overall score. And so the end of the game is basically it tallying all these points together. And if you manage to go across the pass mark, then you've solved the case. And what it will do then is give you a final report and like a breakdown of what sort of happened in that case, and also some of the things that you found in that case, and like what you got right, like in relation to those questions. And if you got them wrong, it'll like tell you like, hey, you actually got this question wrong, and here's a breakdown of sort of what you thought, and that's actually not right. So you kind of did a mistake there. And the interesting thing about the game is that each case has a set number of cards, but because you've only got a certain amount of time to try and get through them, you're not going to get through all the cards. And so you're kind of putting the pieces of this story together by not getting all of the pieces to the story. Like, there's a possibility you might not know things about what's going on, but if you do well enough, you'll get a really good idea from exactly kind of what is going on if you've solved it properly. Like, the overall score will be like, out of 40 marks, but in order to get 40 out of 40, the game basically says to you that is nearly impossible. And so I think we got like somewhere between 10 and 20 out of 40, and we ended up with a pass mark. And by that stage, like, we had a really good idea of the actual what happened properly. Like, we basically, you draw like mind maps on a piece of paper, just like in a notebook. You start writing like characters' names down, sort of relationships to other people in this case. This character here has a distinct mark on their face, and so you write that down, but you don't know this person's name, and that could be something that their name is filled in like later on, and then you can go there and fill that in at a later stage in the game. And so yeah, you end up drawing this crazy like mind map. The board on the wall with all the strings attaching to different pictures, like that sort of thing. And then you start like deducing what the story is about and exactly what's going on. And so the first case that we did was a watch that had been discovered, and it was a really famous watch that went missing in World War II and has somehow shown up in modern day at like an auction house, and you've got to go back and try and figure out how it ended up at this auction house and what exactly happened for it to disappear from this museum in World War II or wherever it disappeared from. And then you basically go back and you talk to all these characters, and you kind of figure out the events that led from 50, 60 years ago up until now, and the characters are involved and that sort of thing. So yeah. And then also while you're doing that, you're finding cards that are relevant to the cases later on, into like the sort of overall story. And so it'll be like, all right, don't read that card, put it in a forensic zipper in case 2, and then put that aside. And so like you grab a card and it's like, don't read it. Just immediately put it here. And so that's something that comes back later on. And so the moment you open up that case, you can read that card. And so each case is like, it'll give you a breakdown in the book of like, here's an overall story, here's the leads that you can start looking into, like I said, half a dozen leads, but also here's here's the other information you can go and look at because you've got this other card that's sort of pulled in there. Another crazy thing was that, and we didn't realize this, at one point it was like lift up the game box and pull out like these files, and like we lifted the box up and there's like a bunch of fucking paperwork underneath of like physical paper stuff that you can look at, and it was like a floor plan of a house, and sort of somebody broke into this house, and like you get to actually physically look at it and try and figure out what happened. And so that stuff like is really cool. So yeah, it's a really fun game from what I've played so far. I guess it's a sort of in the same vein as there's a Sherlock Holmes game that's very popular, and it was made in, I think it was the 1980s.
Yeah,
and they've made a bunch.
Detective. That's literally what I've been thinking the entire time you've been talking, because I bought it for my little sister, and it seems like this is a direct evolution on that, because the Sherlock Holmes game is very similar but a lot clunkier.
Yeah, and that was the thing, is that they actually had the Sherlock Holmes game there, and there's a bunch of them that they've kind of sort of kept making, but the popular one is from like the 80s. And the other one that we looked at was basically said that it was a bit clunky, and that this game was rated pretty good on like Board Game Geek.
Yeah.
And it's like a brand new game. It came out like last year, I think 2018.
Right.
And the aspect of being able to go to their website and have someone like using a laptop computer or a tablet, and then one other person doing the mind map, or someone else reading, and then taking notes. And like the other thing it does is that it'll give you like keywords during the cards that you can actually look at those keywords online in Google or wherever. Just use the internet to search them, and it'll give you more background information about this specific topic, or like using Google Maps to look at an area and trying to get, not necessarily, that's not going to help you a lot in terms of solving the case. Like you could do it without all that stuff, but it kind of gives you more background knowledge, looking into specific World War II army factions and things like that. You can go read up on that sort of stuff, and it gives you a bit more background on some of these characters. So yeah, really interesting game. I like the idea of sort of this, a board game, but also using current technology to sort of work out these sort of things. Like you can't really, I'd like to see the Sherlock Holmes game and sort of how they do that. But this one's really cool because you put in numbers into like a database, and then that matches up with like forensic analysis, and you got to like match people together and stuff like that. And if you get them right, then it's like, all right, it's going to give you a point at the end of the game. And it's like the more things like that you do, the more likely you are to solve the case at the end. It's possible to not solve the case, and much like that Sherlock Holmes video game that we talked about a while back, if you wanted to, you could just keep playing the next case or keep going on. The other option is you don't read the final report, you can wipe your data from the database and replay it again, and maybe just follow different leads. So it's not like you've failed and that's it. You can't do any more. You can't do much more. But it's definitely like replayable up until a point. And each case sounds like it takes about 3 hours to do. So it's pretty lengthy. It took us about 3 to 4 hours on the first playthrough. Reading all the rules and that sort of thing. It's not as complicated as other games. Like it's pretty straightforward. Once you read the rules, you kind of know what you're doing. It's a game that I guess we'll keep playing as we uncover the rest of the cases and sort of see what's going on. But I really dug it. Thought it was really cool.
Nice. Sounds good. I might check it out.
And that's called Detective,
which is a terrible fucking name.
Needs
to be way more out there. Needs something to grab people. I'm still playing. I'm so far away from getting another fucking board game though. I'm still. We only reached the halfway point of Betrayal Legacy. The other week, not last week, but the week before.
Right.
Which is the legacy games are my favorite shit. I love them to death. But
it's like taking old concept games and making them new by putting new rules in, and like your impact on those games makes it like personalizes it as well. But we just reached a point in the game where everything's different now. Like it's such a wildly different game to what it was. We also realized we've been playing it wrong for a long time because it's like Betrayal at House on Haunted Hill or whatever the fuck it is. It's like that, but it's not identical. And as everyone had played Betrayal at House on whatever the film, we were playing it with some rules that we thought were the same across, but they weren't. Like we fucking found out basically by accident that we thought we couldn't just freely go between the basement and upstairs. We thought once you're in the basement you were sort of trapped, right? But
you can just walk out of the fucking basement. And we played fucking 7 games without being able to freely walk out of the fucking basement. It was rough. But nevertheless, I love board games. Yeah, you should definitely check out Sherlock Holmes, but I think you are gonna it'll be a huge step backwards. I think technology. It sounds like technology and detective solves a lot of the clunkiness that Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective
Hmm.
has as a baseline. I'd love to see more technology intertwined with board games. I reckon everyone's got a fucking phone now, so that I don't see any reason why we shouldn't see way more of that kind of stuff. That'd be
Yeah,
rad.
absolutely.
Yeah,
All right, video games. What do we want to
video
kick off with?
game. Uh, talk about Untitled Goose Game real quick.
Sure.
I sort of fuck. Apparently, this game's not too long. I sort of burnt out on it inside of 45 minutes. It's just interesting that last week we were talking about how if you don't, you know, connect with the humor in a game, then then it's hard. Like you will see through a lot of the flaws very quickly.
Sure.
This was definitely the case for me with Untitled Goose Game. Um, I'm really going for twee shit, and I get to me, the initial sort of game jam, reveal of
Hmm.
Untitled Goose Game, that was about the extent to which the joke works for me. Like beyond that, like yeah, okay, you're a goose and you're an asshole. I get it. That's fine. Like I understand how it's funny, right? And then from there, uh, I don't know. I just don't feel like it's got it. Like that's it. It's one note, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Like it seems to be enough for a lot of people, which is cool. But for me, there's apparently it changes by the end. But for me, the depth of the joke was pretty much just you're a goose and you're an asshole. Right, geese are assholes. I get it. Right, like
Mm.
that's we were already at the punchline. We didn't really build up to anything. I'm just sort of a goose who's a jerk, and then from there it's just a sort of pretty basic puzzle game.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I sort of burnt out pretty quick. If you were enamored by the I could it directly contrasted with Borderlands 3. I
Hmm.
think if you were enamored by the setting and the concept, then you would get a lot more out of it. I don't think the puzzles are particularly complex, but like I think they're enough to keep you playing as long as you're not burning out on the entire concept of the game essentially immediately, which is exactly what I did. Yeah, I played it for about 35 minutes and I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever.
Mm.
I'm done. I'm fine. Yeah, let's move on. Like it didn't really get
Didn't
me.
do much new. Yeah. That
Yeah,
was kind of the one complaint that I saw about it as well. Is everyone was kind of saying that it's maybe too long and like nothing sort of changes
yeah.
over the course of the game. It's sort of like
Right.
this one trick pony type thing.
That's what it seemed like to me, very, very heavily. And apparently, like I didn't hear anyone say it went on too long, but I could see how it would, despite the fact that it's only a 2 hour game. Um, it's it reminds me of remember when like fucking every fucking sketch from Saturday Night Live had to be turned into a fucking movie at some point? And we went through a fucking run where every like fucking Jimmy Fallon drives a taxi or something, and you're like, Jesus Christ, how the fuck did this movie get made? Like, it's funny as a sketch. It's fun, like, yeah, Untitled Goose Game is funny as the first garden where you're fucking with the farmer dude. But beyond that,
Mm.
it's just oh, okay, we're doing it again, and yeah, just not for me. Um, Yeah, that's about it. I don't know. I didn't. I thought it's impossible to control on keyboard and mouse, but I had a controller plugged in, so that wasn't a big deal. Yeah, I just refunded it on EGS. Uh,
Yeah, because it's quite expensive, right? It's $20 over here.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so nearly $30, I guess.
No,
Yeah.
I think it was $20. I'm pretty sure I only paid 22 bucks or something.
Oh.
I thought. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Oh, it was
Um,
discounted at launch.
oh, okay. Um, Speaking of Epic Game Store, fucking 6 Batman fucking titles. Good lord. Like, get it up, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, $20. It was $20 and it's $15 at the moment. Um,
Yeah. I hit them up to try and get codes,
right.
and they wouldn't give us codes. So
Oh.
I'm not buying it. It's too busy right now.
Yeah. I just, it was the meme game. It was very popular. Everyone
Mm.
was checking it out. I wanted to check it out myself. Um, yeah. I think you could probably scam them and finish the game inside of fucking. Apparently, you can finish it inside of fucking 2 hours,
4 minutes.
so you could probably get the fucking refund anyway. But I don't think you should do that. Nobody should do that. If you buy it, play it, and get the most out of it, I think you
Yeah.
should probably own it. But yeah, I did not do that. I played it and burnt out on it and decided that it wasn't for me. Um, yeah, all right. Well, speaking of Borderlands 3, we played a bit more of that.
Yep.
Uh, they fucking first of all, I've been playing with other people, just sort of randomly jumping into games, and didn't mention this. It's really interesting to me because I always complain about unskippable cutscenes, but I didn't complain about unskippable cutscenes in Borderlands 3. And I think it's because it alt-tabbed and played in the background, so I could still listen to shit, so it didn't really matter. And B, I like the story and I like the humor and I liked what people were saying, so it wasn't that big a deal. I
And they're
usually,
generally pretty short.
yeah, they're not
They're
that
usually
long.
like an intro of a person or something like that, for the most part.
There are a couple. There are a couple of long ones. Uh, like also the dialogue where we had to wait for them to shut the fuck up so we could listen to Typhon de Leon, that sort of stuff. Like that, it definitely occurs. They definitely disrespect your time. The main problem is that it does it in fucking New Game Plus, which is heinous. You should not have to fucking re-listen to everything a second time in New Game Plus.
Hmm.
That's fucking dumb. And like that is a surefire way to make people hate the fucking humor in a game. And like, I cannot believe it exists the way it does. They need to fucking do something about that ASAP. But yeah, the other thing is, yeah, when you're playing with other people, you just sort of it's pretty annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Because you just want to get to the fucking game, so you sort of spend a lot of time jumping around doing nothing, waiting for the game to trigger to allow you to play it, which is pretty annoying. So yeah, that's a really interesting one because it seems like a really quick. It's like the fucking shortcut path to making someone. If we talk about how not being able to not enjoying the humor is
Yeah.
a surefire way to make you see the rest of the flaws in the game. Borderlands 3 making you sit through shit. I still enjoy the humor, like I still appreciate the humor, but yeah, I want to shut the fuck up, and it's a surefire way to make me like see the flaws. Speaking of
Mm-hmm.
and those flaws that they nerfed everything I fucking use. They literally went into my fucking inventory and they were like, everything Joab loves can go fuck itself. Everything Joab loves, everything Joab does can just go jump in a fucking lake. They fucked up my Torg shotgun that I spent fucking 15 minutes talking about last week. They nerfed fucking drop rates in Mayhem 3 for some dumb fucking reason. So now I get fucking garbage on fucking boss kills. Like, it's a loot game. Why are you nerfing this speaks to the heart of every problem I've ever had with loot games except for Risk of Rain. And that is why nerf when you should buff instead? Don't nerf Torg shotguns. Buff everything else. Like
There's
buff
7 billion guns, Joe, or bazillion guns.
Make it so that the fucking TDL weapons are worth picking up. Make it so that I actually want to fucking, oh my god, the fucking Malawans, right? Like, why would you ever pick up a Malawan if you've got to spend the first 6 seconds of every engagement charging the fucking thing up, only for it to then fire and do like not enough damage? Like, Malawans would be fucking totally awesome if they were crazy OP, right? Every fucking weapon would be totally awesome if they were crazy OP, and all you'd have to do is find the right balance of crazy OP to justify using it. And then, if you want people to, but then people aren't challenged enough. Like the fucking the mayhem system doesn't seem like it needs to stop at 3. Just fucking
Sure.
jack it up a bunch, right? Why does it have to stop at 3? Just fucking let it keep adding 15% on the fucking health pool of fucking everyone in the game until we get to a point where the weapons you've got aren't enough to mince cunts anymore. Do it that way. Don't fucking nerf my favorite fucking gun. That feels like you took a gun away from me. That feels like you've taken loot from me. It's a fucking loot game, and you've taken my loot away. Like, that's fucking stupid. Like, I hate that. It's really burned me out on the game real fucking quick. Because now when I load in, I'm like, oh yeah, right, my favorite gun's a piece of shit now.
What did they do to it?
They nerfed the damage heavily. This is the shotgun that I was talking about where you sticky it. You switch it to sticky and you shoot.
Alright.
If as long as you got a crit, you could basically like crit 5 dudes, and when you reloaded, all of their heads would explode. It was fucking sick. Like it was sick from a like conceptual level, right? Like obviously I like being able to mince cunts, right? But it was sick on a fucking like actual concept level because you're like literally just like pressing the fucking button and everyone fucking explodes. It feels like rad. You feel like the fucking gangster, right? But instead, no, now it fucking does sweet fuck all. It's fucked. Like, it's still a good gun.
Hmm.
It's just you don't do nearly as much damage anymore. Even with crits, it doesn't do anywhere near as much damage, which annoys the fuck out of me. Anyway,
Yeah.
not upset me.
Yeah, I jumped in a little bit today. Had a
Yeah.
chance to play. I was just doing side missions, some of the ones I missed. I think I've done everything that I kind of had in my list except for the trials. So I've got to go check them out. But yeah, I've definitely missed some side missions because it does like like the little indicator that's like you've done 40 out of 60, and I'm like, all right,
yeah.
there's still missions somewhere. I don't know where they are, but I gotta find them.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that counts as those podiums, the
I
iridium
thought
podiums.
I figured that they must count.
Yeah.
Mm.
The other thing is I don't know what the ancient writing does either. Like it just seems to be filling in backstory
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something.
Yeah, I haven't noticed that it does anything in particular either. Probably
Yeah.
could probably Google it, but I don't know.
Because there's also one back on the ship in, is it Tannis's room, I think? And when you look at it, he's like, I can't read that or something. You're like, all right, that's weird.
Okay.
You should be able to. Anyway. So yeah, I'm sort of still playing it, but otherwise, I've got some free time now because we've been reviewing stuff. Modern Warfare beta went up over the weekend, I guess.
Yeah, it was. Well, it was over the course of 2 weekends because it was up early for PlayStation, but yeah, it went up for PC over the previous, like the last weekend. Went up on Thursday for anyone with a code, a pre-order code. I obviously haven't pre-ordered it, but Activision hooked me up with a code, and yeah, jumped in. I jumped in from Friday, I think, maybe Thursday. Maybe Thursday, I don't know. Probably Friday. And yeah, played it. It was a 50 gig download. Nearly downloaded fucking Black Ops 4, which was a 150 gig download, but luckily I dodged that bullet. And yeah, jumped into some Modern Warfare. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like the multiplayer in this game. I like Gunfight. Actually had some fucking a bunch of sick games in Gunfight with Kleb and with Nate, but I don't like the rest of it. Ground War. Let's start with Ground War. Did you play it?
No.
Okay, let's start with Ground War. Ground War is basically Battlefield, but it's bad. Like you've got tank, like well, you got APCs, you've got sort of tanks, you've got the quad bikes, so you can get around quicker. You can call in choppers with kill streaks. Like there is a lot of Battlefield type stuff going on in Call of Duty Modern Warfare Ground War. It's the biggest mode that they've ever had in a game. It was huge. It's domination, but on a large scale. So that's conquest in regular person speak. Conquest came first. Let's just be clear. So yeah, it's just conquest. But yeah, it really feels like they have never actually played a Battlefield game before. They heard people like the Battlefield thing, and they're like, watch some fucking videos, and then they decided to try their hand at making it. They're like, we can do this. Why not? What, you chuck some tanks in, have a couple of choppers, put some points out there, and
And a dirt bike.
yeah, and like get as many fucking players into the server as possible. Easy. Let's do it. Let's see what they've got. Because yeah, the map balance is for absolute shit. You can literally sit just outside of one team's uncap and spawn camp the fuck out of them, which I haven't seen in like over a decade of Battlefield. Like they fixed that shit. They fixed that shit ages ago. They refused to make another fucking Normandy landing, Omaha, because it is literally a spawn camp fest. And I love that. I love Omaha because you're fighting a spawn camp, but that's the only time I like being spawn camped. Yeah, I sat with a fucking APC in the worst fucking spot for my team, and I just fired into the C cap point. Made no attempt to cap the objective. All I did was fucking murder cunts. I racked up so many fucking kills. It was heinous. They had to use an airstrike kill streak to fucking like bust me out. Because I was doing fucking. You've got like you do something like fucking 60 shots a minute, so a bullet a second, and you kill in two. Everyone dies in 2 bullets. You got splash damage out the fucking wazoo. So anytime anyone went near the fucking door of that fucking building, I murdered them. Right? They died in 2 shots, in 2 seconds. They were dead in 2 seconds. Like there was nothing they could do. There's literally nothing they could do. They could run over and try to fucking rocket me, right? But I kill in 2 seconds, right? And I'm forced to be in third person when I'm in a fucking tank, so I can see them coming. So I just fucking punt them. It didn't fucking matter. They couldn't do dick, right? I think I got hit by one rocket, and that dude died instantly. Like the only way to stop me was to literally drop everything and come and get me, which again they have largely solved in Battlefield. Because if you go a NG or support. With the ability to take out tanks, you still have so much other utility for the rest of the game. Once you use your utility in Ground War, you may as well just die because there doesn't seem to be any way to get grenades back. If you're trying to siege break, right, it's literally faster for you to throw your grenades in, throw your flash in, try to get as many kills as you can, and then respawn on someone who stays near the spawn cap, and then you can do it again. And it's better for 3 of you to do that and to spawn on one squad mate than it is for you to like attempt to properly take a siege point, because there are just way too many people spawning on a single cap area at any one time, especially somewhere like C or B. C and B are ludicrously close to one another on that map, but that's map balancing. It's just goes to like speaks to the overall terrible fucking map design in Modern Warfare. I don't understand what kind of like I've been trying to work out what sort of playstyle they are trying to push and I just don't understand with some of these points what it is that like they are encouraging. It doesn't make any sense to me. There's no sense to the specific behaviors they're trying to encourage with, yeah, those like spawns and maps. The inside, it's remember Rainbow Six when Rainbow Six first came out, and if you're on the outside looking in or on the inside looking out, you were basically fucking blind. You couldn't fucking see anything, right? If you're inside looking out, it was just fucking a white light, which was ironic because you're about to fucking die. And if you're on the outside looking in, it was pitch black and you just fucking jump in a fucking death. And slowly but surely they fixed it. Modern Warfare hasn't done dick on that. It is, and like everyone looks, all the characters are super dark. So even when you're inside going into another room, it's still way too dark, like all of the time. So it's an absolute nightmare to try to like find a target before the target finds you if you're assaulting a single point in ground war, because you've got everyone dies in four bullets. There's a super low time to kill, which is I think is awesome. I really like that. I've always preferred hardcore in Call of Duty compared to regular mode. This feels like hardcore off the bat, although they do have realism mode where everyone dies in 2 fucking bullets, and there's no HUD. Nevertheless, 4 bullets, but that doesn't mean that you will get 7 kills out of a 30-round clip. It just means that like they will die provided you shoot them 4 times, but you will also die provided you're shot 4 times, which means if you run into a room with 7 other cunts, you're not going to get 7 kills unless they're looking some other way. There's only 2 entrances to these fucking objectives. There's only 2 places where they need to look. So 4 of them are looking one way and 3 are looking the other. And unless it's successfully siege broken with multiple concurrent flashes that somehow haven't gotten you, not to mention there are perks that diminish the effect of flashes, you're not getting in, right? Like it's just literally designed to dick you about. It's odd. It's super weird. Anyway, that's Ground War. It's fucked. It literally plays like bad Battlefield. Like they just haven't ever actually played Battlefield. So yeah, no time for that. Regular mode is a camper's paradise. It is Camp City, and I wrote on Red Bull that like the core issue it has is kill streaks, and I genuinely believe that is the case. I was saying this when we left the multiplayer reveal event, that they needed to get rid of kill streaks, that they should have brought point streaks back. There's no doubt in my mind. Like, I know I'm correct. I'm always right? From the old Joab's always right. Joab's so confident. Blah 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 blah. I'm fucking right about this. I know I am right. There's no doubt in my mind that point streaks would fundamentally fix the problems that kill streaks create in Modern Warfare, because kill streaks specifically and deliberately create selfish play from players. Like you are directly incentivized to play the most selfish way possible if you're trying to get kill streaks. And I'm not talking like I think the shutdown to this argument is that but Shroud can get a kill streak and he runs and guns, or fucking some dude from Optic or FaZe or 100 Thieves will fucking, but they're fucking esports pros. They're not the fucking, like, they are the 0.5%, right? And this is not about balancing for them. Kill streaks aren't something that you've balanced for esports pros or like the ultra elites, right? That's not the way that works, right? I will always say balance for esports every single day of the week, right? But that to balance this for esports, what that means is do point streaks, but balance the fucking point spread in a way that it won't fuck a competitive game. Not encourage everyone to play to somehow be at the level of fucking Shroud, because it's never going to fucking happen. You can't point to the absolute elites and say that they prove that, you know, anyone could do those things, or that people won't be incentivized. The behavior that they have incentivized with kill streaks is specifically hiding in corners and getting cheap kills wherever possible, because there's no way to get them any other. Like, you won't, like, regular people, even good players, right? I think there's one game where I didn't get fucking like top 3, and 2 games where I wasn't first on my team. The one game where I didn't get top 3 was the first game I played because I couldn't find a fucking gun I liked. I had this fucking, the guns you unlock at the start, one of them was a fucking burst fire and the other one's a heavy machine gun. So I just couldn't fucking, I can't do burst fire for the life of me. I fucking hate it. And the machine gun was, like, the recoil was fucking crazy. So I couldn't fucking handle that shit. So I just got fucking punted. And then the very next game, I got third. And the game after that, I was MVP every fucking game. And there's heavy duty skill-based matchmaking in fucking Call of Duty Modern Warfare, like really hardcore. People were complaining that it was too skill-based matchmaking because they just kept seeing the same players all the time. They wanted to play against different people. I didn't mind. They were probably upset because I kept fucking whooping them. Right? Like, I'm good at Call of Duty. I worked it out real quick. It might not be that I'm good at Call of Duty. It's just that I pick up games really fucking fast, right? Like, I very quickly reach a higher point. That my acceleration, right? My velocity, my speed, my top speed might not be where everyone else's is, but my acceleration is fucking on the fucking the Prius of fucking gamers, right? Like, I'm just fucking 0 to 100 in fucking no time at all, but I'm never going to get above 140 or some shit.
Did you
right?
say the Prius? Like a Toyota Prius?
Yeah.
That's where you went?
Yeah.
Not like a Tesla or something?
No. Because like the Tesla has a high top speed as well. I am not the Tesla. I'm the Prius, right? Like, mine, I have a high top speed. I plateau at a point, right? But I pick games up real quick, and so I was dominating, right? The point of this is that being the top of my fucking leaderboards at every single fucking stage of every game, I couldn't run a gun, right? I couldn't get the kill streaks that I wanted, except if I positionally played, because you can't, like, there's too many fucking camp spots. You can't fucking play run and gun style in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. The pace of the game is such that you need to fucking check corners every single fucking corner because the lighting is too dark, because there are way too many corners, because players are able to use Ghost and you don't have a minimap by default. The gunfire doesn't show up on your minimap. It shows up on your fucking radial compass. Like, all of these little things, you got to check for claymores around every fucking corner. You've got to check for all this kind of shit to make sure that you aren't going to fucking die, because that will fucking cost you your kill streak, right? So the best way to go for it is to fucking positionally play. That's the fucking reality of the game. Like, every single fucking Grasna Raid is one of the worst maps I've ever encountered in my life. It is like there are a dozen dead ends, like, just fucking go nowhere paths on that map for no reason at all. I cannot understand why you would have dead ends except to give campers a location to hide in, or to, you know, get cheap kills from, right? Because it's basically built for cheap kills. It's got, like, the C cap is in the middle of a fucking courtyard, so you've got zero cover, with two giant fucking picture windows above it that as soon as you start the cap, right, someone can fucking pop out at either one, and you can't see them up there because they're in ghost. Like, they've got ghost mode, so your UAV doesn't fucking spot them, right? You can't see them up there until they pop out. You have to work out what it's. There's actually two more windows over further to the side that actually have a view on fucking sea as well. It's basically Canal, right? Like, it's basically Canal from Rainbow Six, where there are fucking way too many windows for you to quickly analyze and work out where the fuck you're about to get shot from, by someone who is positionally playing. It's just like a train wreck. The B cap has a fucking position where you can stand above B and just shoot straight down into it. There's 3 of those positions. You can like drop grenades. Obviously, you can sit on the cap itself. Like, there are way too many spots where you are in far too much cover. You can put up deployable cover to further hide yourself. Like, it is built from the ground up to enable camping. But most of the problems that people have with campers weren't on the cap zones. They weren't on the points themselves. They were away from them. They were getting shot by people who were hiding in buildings where there was no fucking objective, right? Because the campers have no reason to go for the objective. They have no incentive to actually want to play the objective. They are trying to get a kill streak. They're trying to get 30 kills for the fucking nuke so they can fucking chuck it on YouTube. Or they're trying to get the fucking chopper gunner or whatever the fuck, right? I got a chopper gunner kill streak, which is 11 kills without dying. I got 15 kills out of that. It did not count towards anything. Kill streaks are only kills with weapons or utility.
All right. Yeah.
So that was annoying. But yeah, like I died because I ran out of ammo and I had to go find another fucking gun. Yeah, like what are you gonna do, right? Like, you sort of fucking. I was not camping. I was positionally playing in that I was specifically guarding B, and they were rushing B constantly. So it wasn't like there was probably like a 20 to 30 second window every couple of minutes where I could have left and gone somewhere else. But I was successfully playing the objective, in my opinion, right? Defending B and killing the fucking Suicide Squad that kept running in on me, right? I don't think that's camping. I honestly don't think, if you're defending an objective, I don't think that's camping. I think that is truly positional play. That is literally what positional play is. But I could see how you might, like, other players might have been pissed because they kept getting killed from unexpected angles by me at B, right? Like, yeah. They would go in, they would flush out their last place that I was, the last angle I killed them from, and then they'd go around and I would murder them from a different angle. There are way too many fucking angles. The only way to really assault a fucking point is, it's really difficult to cap a fucking domination point on your own in Modern Warfare, because it takes I think it takes 25 seconds to solo cap, which is like insane in a game as fast as Call of Duty, and like you're four bullets away from dying the entire fucking time and pissing away all that fucking effort, right? Like, you're so heavily incentivized to not cap, to not play the objective. But like I said in my Red Bull article, team deathmatch is not the fucking core focus of Modern Warfare. It isn't. Like, there are so many other modes that they're not trying to get you to play. They're trying to get you to play, Ground War is dominate, is conquest, right? Like, Ground War is conquest. There's 10v10 domination. There wasn't a 10v10 TDM, I don't think. There's search and destroy, headquarters, blah 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 blah. Like, they've got so many fucking different modes that team deathmatch can't be their main focus. But kill streaks are balanced for team deathmatch. They're specifically balanced towards team deathmatch because in team deathmatch, the only objective is to get more kills than the other team. And yeah, it's fucked. It's utterly fucked. If like the guns feel good, they still feel good. I think everything we said about it from the multiplayer reveal, that it feels good, that your movements feel good, that it runs well, all that kind of stuff is still extremely true. But if they don't get rid of kill streaks, so they don't replace kill streaks with point streaks, I have zero interest in playing it. And I guarantee you most people will feel the same. That this weekend, you look at Twitter or Reddit, and there is outrage about this game. It is far too different to what they were used to, and it like if they can just incentivize players to play the fucking objective, they will see a sharp decrease, in my opinion, in complaints. Because yeah, you can like we're accustomed now, culturally accustomed to accept positional play as a concept. It's something they talked about constantly in multiplayer reveal, the idea of positional play, right? But positional play and camping are two different fucking things. Camping is hiding in an unexpected area, not completing an objective. Positional play is anything that helps you complete an objective for your team. If you're playing for your team and holding a single position, that's not camping. That is positional play. There are, like, map design wise, there are way too many fucking spots where you could positional play and get away with a lot of shit. I found a bunch of them on every single fucking map. Mostly while I was trying to flush them out. But like that's tricky to fix this close to launch. I don't think switching a kill streak system to a point streak system is that tricky to fix. I think
it's probably too late. They've already marketed it as being like, we're going back to kill streaks.
It's true, but they could also get a lot of fucking goodwill out of going to point streaks instead. Like I use point streaks instead of score streaks. Score streaks are my preference because Black Ops was my preference eventually, but I use point streaks because they're trying to do the Modern Warfare thing. They're trying to do all the greatest hits from Modern Warfare over time. Yeah. But yeah, they can do it. I don't see why not. They've got one Modern Warfare 3 system in it already, which is the specialist strike package where you just get more perks. It wasn't in the beta, but yeah, it was there.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's not really going to matter much because we're going to play Battle Royale when that comes out anyway.
It's true. And it's definitely coming. Someone data mined it, and they reckon they found a bunch of stuff which they could have just fucking listened to the gap because we called it fucking yonks ago. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Modern Warfare beta.
Yeah. At this point, I would not get the full game because I've got no interest in the single player. I would wait for Battle Royale. And Battle Royale is going to die instantly if they don't release it as a free-to-play add-on, in my opinion. So, Yep.
Cool. All right. The Surge 2. I have been playing a bunch of this, sort of in between Borderlands, while we were playing Borderlands 3. Got code for it a couple of weeks back. I played the original Surge. I think you played a bit of it as well.
Yep.
If I recall.
I did.
It is takes huge inspiration from Dark Souls. And
is putting it mildly, yes.
Sort of like what they've sort of done. And they've set it in more like a science fiction future setting with rig suits. These people sort of walk around with pieces of armor attached to them. I guess the way you could think of it is maybe like a smaller version of what Sigourney Weaver has in like Alien, or I don't know. I guess there's probably another film that's sort of similar. I don't know. Maybe like an Iron Man suit, but less body covering.
I think the rig from Alien is a pretty good analogy.
Yeah. Yeah, and so basically I guess the setting of this world is that it's very far into the future. Sort of the resources on Earth are getting very low and depleted. Due to that, like a lot of companies have I guess taken over the world, and technology has sort of made its way into all parts of life, and that has meant that, you know, people are no longer needed for a lot of jobs, and so like society sort of crumbles. And then the way that corporations are trying to save the planet, you know, sort of like I guess is as if like Amazon was trying to fucking figure out, all right, how do we save the planet? And then they're like, all right, let's do this thing. And so anyway, this corporation does this thing and it doesn't go well. And they end up releasing this nanite-based disease, so like a micro-robotic disease into the world. And that's sort of like where the end of The Surge takes place. And The Surge 2 is a couple of months after the first game. And so you're playing a character who wakes up from a coma, and they've been in a plane crash, which was sort of as a result of this disease that has been spread. And you're trying to sort of remember and figure out exactly like what has happened exactly. And so you awaken in this detention center, and you set off. There's some sort of giant creature that has terrorized this detention center and gone through it and broken it, and you've got like no idea what is going on. And you eventually get out into the world of Jericho City. And Jericho City is kind of like the hub of The Surge 2, where you'll spend the most, like all the time sort of exploring and going out. And so going back to like the Dark Souls sort of stuff, it has a very similar system in terms of like souls from Dark Souls. In this case, it's called tech scrap. Every time you kill an enemy, you receive tech scrap, and you use tech scrap to sort of level up your character, buy resources in the world, weapons, armor, that sort of stuff. So very similar to Dark Souls. The difference they do here is, and I really like it, is that you collect tech scrap, and every time you continue to kill enemies, it sort of adds like a multiplier onto your tech scrap score. And so the more enemies you kill, the higher that multiplier gets. And in Dark Souls, what you would do was you'd go, all right, cool, I've got my souls, I'm going to go to my bonfire and I'm going to go level up. Whereas in The Surge, what they try and incentivize you to do is not go to your bonfire, which is, they call it a med bay. And you can bank all that tech scrap into the med bay. Or you can just keep running around, and that multiplier keeps growing and growing. The risk there is that you could end up being killed by an enemy and then dropping that tech scrap on the ground. Once that happens, you respawn back at a med bay, and you need to go recover those resources again. Another key change here is that there's a time limit on how long you've got to go get that resource, and that countdown starts the moment you respawn. But if you immediately start killing again and taking out enemies, then it sort of adds more time to that countdown. So you've actually, as long as you're sort of working your way back to where you were, then you've at least got a chance to try and get back there. It's not like you've got 2 minutes and off you go. It's too far, you're fucked. No, if you start working your way through enemies, like it'll start adding time on there again. So that's really like an interesting sort of risk reward thing. Like you can obviously play it the way you play Dark Souls by just farming an area and going back to the med bay and banking all your points, or you can, keep seeing how high you can get that multiplayer to go, and just kill like big enemies and get a stupid amount of experience from them. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now the combat, the way combat works, I fucking love the combat in this game. So
Really?
cool. So you can target body parts or limbs. You can target limbs on enemies, be it their head, arms, leg, or torso. And the enemies in the game, going back to this sort of these rigs that people have, will have armor on them. So, for instance, you might come across an enemy who has a helmet on, and both their arms are armored up, but their legs are they're normal. There's nothing covering them up. And so you come across this enemy, and you hit your targeting button, which is your lock on, same sort of thing as an action game. So you lock onto your target, and then you can use the directional stick to select a body limb, and you can sort of scan over them and be like, all right, well, I can see that they've got armor on both their arms and their helmet, but there's no protection on their legs. And you can decide to go and try and attack them at their legs. There's 2 attack buttons. There's a vertical strike and a horizontal strike. It's all melee-based combat, and so when you go up to them, you can then target those limbs and then start wailing on them. Now, unprotected limbs will take a lot of damage, whereas the limbs that have got armor on them, you'll do damage to them, but there'll be damage reduction on there. And there is a health meter on sort of the body part as well, like the armor. And once you get rid of the you shred away that armor, you can then slice off that limb by using part of your battery meter. The battery meter is just like another resource you've got on top of your health and stamina. Every time you hit somebody, you're building this battery bar. And so you use a portion of your battery bar to do a slice, and you take off that limb. And what happens then is, if it's got an armor part on it, or say a weapon, it'll drop that armor part and that weapon, and then you'll be able to pick that up and use those resources. If you slice off a part of their body that doesn't have any piece of armor on it, then you don't get anything from it, but you'll just kill them, I guess, and you'll get the tech scrap. And so you're going from enemy to enemy and trying to slice off these limbs from them and collect all these resources and different types of armor. And there's tons of different armor sets in the game. There's a lot of different types of weapons that you can come across. And the first time you slice off a limb, you get a schematic of that particular part. So it'll be like arm, or torso, or helmet, or legs. And then once you get that schematic, you can use resources to craft them. And then you can craft 2 arms if you wanted to, and then deck out your arms in this new armor, or same for the legs, and then or a torso and a helmet. You don't necessarily have to have the same sort of armor sets for each body part, but if you do, you get bonuses. So if you've got like 3 types of armor for a specific set, it might be like a damage reduction to poison or something like that. Your typical armor set sort of stuff. So you could deck yourself out in the whole armor if you wanted to, or you can sort of choose bits and pieces. Each armor has sort of like a damage reduction on there, how much impact it can take, how much poison resistance or fire resistance or electricity resistance, like that sort of stuff. Everything's really different. The cool thing about it is that for the most part, it's sort of similar to Dark Souls. Like you can kind of finish the game with the starting weapon if you wanted to, and work your way through. Obviously, there's stuff later on that you can kind of find that sort of fits your play style, and you can upgrade all those weapons if you want to. And each time you upgrade it, it gets a couple of more stats put onto it. So I found a nanite based melee blades really early on in the game, and I kind of stuck with them for, I'd probably say, about 15 to 12 hours, and then I started tinkering around with some other builds. Like I found something else later on that I really liked, and so I upgraded that weapon. So yeah, there's like a lot of different play styles, and the way that the weapons sort of handle are very differently. You can find like the really close like fist weapons or giant like hammers that are really slow but do a lot of damage. It's kind of, again, sort of like that, depending on how you like to play like a Dark Souls game, you can grab your close sort of shield or your giant mallet and just go to town with that if you want. But there's like a lot of different options for weapons, and they all sort of feel really different, and different attack speeds. Some of them will be this one does fire damage, or this one's electrical damage. So yeah, there's a ton of different options you can sort of go with, and each enemy type or each enemy has like a power level on them, and so for instance, it goes up for a really long time, and so if you shred an armor piece on a level say 3 enemy, then they drop level 3 resources, and that's kind of how you upgrade all these items in the game. You get to a point where it's like, all right, I want to spend my level 3 resources and upgrade my helmet to a level whatever, level 4, and then off you go. That's how you kind of build towards the end game, by leveling up all these items. And so the combat is really cool in terms of like melee combat. The other thing they've done, which is different to the last game, is they've changed the way blocking works, and they've got a directional blocking system. And so the way that works is you can block if you want to. Like you just hold the trigger down, and the enemy that attacks you, you'll get damage reduction, and it'll take part of your stamina bar. But if you time it perfectly, you can actually parry them and do a really quick, successful hit back onto them. And the way that the directional blocking works is sort of in conjunction with one of the implants in the game. Implants are basically like ways to customize your character, and so every time you level up, you get a power, power added to your rig suit, and implants will allow you to sort of like customize your character. So say for instance, in order for me to see the enemy health bar, if I want that implant, it's going to cost me 5 power level. All right. So you put that as one of your implants, and then there might be another implant that is like you can use part of your energy bar to refill your health, and so you put that as another implant, and that's maybe 8 power it's going to use out of your rig suit. And one of the other implants they've got is this directional blocking indicator. So it'll show you on the screen where the enemy is attacking you and which side you've got to block on. And so I think it's only the 3 that it's got. It's got like left, up, and down, and right. And so you'll get it like a quick time event, not even a quick time event, just like this is where the fucking attack is coming from. Get ready. And so you hit your block button and you move your stick in that direction, and if you time it just right, they'll parry them at that moment. And the reason why I like that better than sort of what Dark Souls is doing, like it's kind of or even Sekiro or any of those are the From Software games, is that it's making a bit more engagement. Like you've got to pay attention as to where the swings are coming from, as opposed to just hitting the block at the right time.
Can you do it without the indicator?
Yeah, you just have to do the timing right.
If you learn the animations, you can work out, like, are they distinct enough?
Yeah, you can tell where they're coming from.
So
you'll see something swinging back with the right, and you'll know that like that's where it's coming from.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, and so what happens is sometimes enemies will be like, or even bosses. Sometimes there's like bigger enemies that'll be like, you have to do multiple parries. It might be 2 or 3, and so it'll be like they'll swing from the right. You nail that parry, and it'll go green, and then they'll swing from the left, and if you get that, that'll stagger them. it's not necessarily you have to do both in a row. It'll be like, all right, you got the one on the right, but you sort of fucked up the one on the left. You took some damage, but the next time that you get a successful parry, it'll count towards like that's how many you needed to do. So it might be there's 2 that you need to do or 3. So as long as you knock one of those bars out, then yeah, eventually you'll stagger them and you can go and wail on them for a little bit. So I really like that the blocking is sort of more engaging, and I'm hoping that that is something we start to see like a bit more. That would have been cool in like Sekiro, that had like a more like a directional blocking, especially with like sword fighting and whatnot.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, so yeah, that's new, that's in the game, and I really like that a lot. It makes the fights just more engaging, especially the boss fights, when you see a boss like, you know, swing from a certain direction. And Sekiro, like, you had to learn the timing and you would trigger it, like you'd use your triggers to be like block, 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 and then block again, and that'd sort of stagger them. Whereas this is like, all right, you're blocking, but you're swinging the stick right and then left and then up, or something like that. Yeah, it just feels like you're doing a lot more work, which, you know, I like that part. So yeah, the combat, in terms of combat overall, I really liked. So I like the directional attacks, being able to choose which sides you want to attack, and like being able to slice off a limb, and then sometimes like, all right, that enemy's still going, but you've now knocked out, you know, that specific component on their weapon. Or like there were some statues later, or these fucking statue men, and I would like I'd slice off their leg and then they couldn't move anymore, and they kind of just fucking sit there with like a knee to the ground, and I'd be like, aha, suckers, and then they'd start shooting like lasers out of their faces, and I'm like, oh, this is not what I thought would happen.
This is much worse.
Yeah, this is definitely worse.
Have your leg back.
Yeah. Well, there was like a boss fight, one of the first boss fights I came across. I was racking my head around it for a while, and it turned out I was just doing it. I guess I wasn't doing it wrong, but I was doing it the harder way. Like, I was taking out the wrong components of this boss at the wrong time. I should have went for these things first, and then, as opposed to like its legs or something like that. And so that boss took me a while, and then eventually I was like, all right, what if I try it in a different, I approached this a bit differently and attacked these things first, and that made the fight so much easier. So yeah, just like thinking about how you're going into some of these fights, and like, all right, if I take out its leg, then it won't be able to do this anymore, or that's really cool. I like that sort of stuff, that you sort of see that in some games, and like being able to sort of strip away certain things' abilities is really interesting approach to games. So yeah, I really dig the combat. I think it's really awesome, and I hope that we see other games borrow some of those elements, because I really like it. In terms of level design, from what I understand, the level design in the original Surge was a bit more, I don't know, like linear, but also not as open worldy. I sort of recall when I was playing it, it was sort of like that. Whereas this is like a hub, like it is an area, and you are opening shortcuts all over the place. There are so many shortcuts. You'll get to the start of the game, and it's sort of teaching you how the shortcuts work. Like, you get an idea of this is where you start. You sort of work your way through this detention center, eventually unlocking doors. And once you work your way out of the detention center, that's when you get into Jericho City. And by that stage, you should have an understanding of like, oh, okay, yeah. So when I unlock a door, it's sort of like a quicker way for me to get back to where I was. And that's sort of how it works in the hub world. Except they've got enemies out there now that are higher power level, and so you know, like, not to go fuck with them. Whereas in Dark Souls, it's like you sort of wander into an area and you just get like one shot. And you're like, probably shouldn't be here. Whereas in this game, if you've got the implant on you, you can look at an enemy and be like, they're way too high level for me. I probably shouldn't be going that way. And so it does a good job of like funneling you in the direction you're supposed to be going down, as well as like looping back on itself every once in a while and being like, all right, this is a quick way for me to sort of get. Yeah, but there's a lot. There's like tons and tons of shortcuts. And then there's things in the world you'll see, you'll be like, these like grappling lines, and you're like, well, what is that? And that's like something that'll come to fruition later on when you find the tool that you need.
Yeah, right.
And so there's lots of verticality in the game as well. There's like
Okay.
so much verticality, more than what I feel like more than what like Dark Souls has done, I would say. Like Dark Souls was doing the whole, Sekiro was doing the grappling with I can't even remember what that thing was called, the arm, I guess, whatever it was. You'd grapple onto certain anchor points in the world, whereas this is like grappling lines that sort of take you to different areas, but it feels like there's more going on. Like it felt like more open, like more openness in the world. It wasn't as clustered. So yeah. Anyway, I was really surprised by the sort of the world and sort of what they do. It's this futuristic setting, so a lot of it is like whites and like bright colors. Not really a lot of color depth in terms of a variety of colors. It's very clean.
Right.
You get to an area later on, and it's sort of like a bit. They throw some greens and whatnot in there, but for the most part, it's very like whites and blues and that sort of stuff. And so you set off on this mainline quest, and along the way you run into side characters who give you side missions. It seems like it's not taking itself super seriously. There's some really interesting characters you'll meet across the way that sort of they're trying to put some humor in there. But it's not as like, in terms of the story, it's not as vague as some of the other games we've played. Some Souls-like games, like you get to characters, you're like, oh yeah, okay, they're not talking in fucking code all the time. You know what I mean? They're actually telling you what you need to go and do, and then you go do something and come back and you'll get a reward from them, or maybe they're a shady character and they turn on you or something like that. So it's not just main missions, there's side stuff you can go and do, and there's some interesting side missions in there. There's a turning point in the game that I found, which basically it got too easy.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's a huge problem with the game. I don't know if everybody's going to experience this, but I found it really challenging. Like, I was messaging people that had the game and being like, how did you get past this like specific section? I'm getting fucking ruined. And that was in relation to like these statue people I was talking about. I'm like, I do not know what I'm doing wrong, but I can't figure it out. I'm just getting destroyed. I'm just basically running away from them at this point because I can't figure it out. And this is before I started using the parry system. I was doing classic Dark Souls. I was just dodging out of the way all the time, or blocking. So yeah, my one piece of advice: use the parry system in this game. It's very good, and it will help you a lot. And I feel like it's a necessity for a lot of the enemies. And so once I learned that you need to use that system, it made fights a lot easier. And then on top of that, I felt like not out-leveled, but I just I wasn't having any more challenge with some of these enemies. I would just run at things. It's a very an action game, like
fast-paced.
Yeah, it's super fast-paced. I just got to the point where I just felt like I could run at things and not have to worry about even blocking or dodging or moving. Like, I would just take the damage that I was getting from this thing, keep swinging, and once the fight was done, I would heal. Because the more damage you're doing to something, the more energy you're adding to your energy bar, and then you can use that energy to turn into health again, or whatever implant you're using. There's a bunch in there. There's like a sort of like an instant health one. There is one where you can do like it'll like regenerate 50% of your health over a certain amount of time. You could use both if you wanted to and like cycle through them. It just depends on how much power level you've actually gotten, and what you're willing to sort of sacrifice from all the implants that you find out in the world. Like, you find things that can do it'll add poison resistance or something like that, but I'm like, I don't need poison resistance, I don't need to implant that. So you kind of build your character the way that you sort of want to run around in this world. So the biggest problem for me was that I just felt like towards the end of the game it was too easy, way too easy. They just run at everything and just wail on them basically. So it didn't feel challenging. The only challenges that I did have were the boss fights towards the end, and they start reusing one particular boss or two of them a couple of times, and their movesets at that stage. So it's they sort of hit harder and they're quicker, but you know how they work and what the thing is to sort of beat them. And so once you learn that, it's like
That's just
it's kind of like Sekiro when it throws that boss that just fucking smashes you. But if you get the timing of the blocks right, it's easy. Like it's a boss at one stage, and then later on they just start throwing at them like regular enemies. You're like, oh yeah, I know how to beat this thing. It's simple. It's like that sort of stuff.
Well, Dark Souls did that too with the Cabra Demon and that someone else. I can't remember, one of the others.
Yeah,
you see a fucking bunch of them at one point in the game.
Yeah,
it is, but as regular enemies, right? I think that's are they regular enemies or are bosses that are powered up or some shit?
No, they're bosses.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I think it's good when it's a regular enemy because it's sort of raises the stakes, right? It changes the stakes to be something. Oh, okay. Well, whatever I'm coming up against next is gonna be fucking hairy. But if it's reusing it as a boss, I think that's a bit of a yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a harder fight. Like, it's quicker and does more damage and that sort of thing. But it would have been cool to see different types of bosses. Like one of the first bosses you come across is really cool, and it just feels like nothing sort of gets to that level again. Like they do interesting things with it.
Right.
So yeah, that's a bit disappointing.
Oh.
Yeah. What else is there? I had a lot of performance issues. Not performance issues, just bugs and technical problems. And performance issues started rolling in towards the end of the game.
Right.
They do something with Jericho City towards the end. And frame rate just tanks. From what I understand from reading reviews today, it's just not PC related, but people are also seeing a lot of performance issues on consoles.
Right.
So that's a bit disappointing. Like I was getting over 100 frames in this game up until that point, and it was dropping as low as probably maybe below 30 at some stages. And during those stages, I had a couple of times it crashed on me. Probably I'd say about half a dozen times it crashed. Wasn't a huge issue because the game saves pretty regularly. Whenever you get sort of a new, not a new area, but every once in a while, once you get through to a checkpoint, it'll save. So not losing heaps of time, but still frustrating. Getting stuck on terrain, using zip lines, you die instantly sometimes. Just sort of stuff like that. Weird graphical glitches like disco lights. The only way to sort of fix that was to quit back to the main menu and then back in the game. But otherwise, yeah, they dropped a 10 gigabyte patch while I was reviewing this game, which was I think the patch came out last Thursday or last Friday over here. And I sent out an email to try and find out what they patched.
Right.
And yet to get that. So whether or not those issues are being fixed, I mean, the issues that I was having weren't fixed in this patch. So I don't know what they fixed, but it seems like these performance issues aren't fixed. They're going to be there from day one, which sucks because it definitely had a negative effect on my combat experience towards the end, which was crap.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, I guess I feel like that's maybe everything. Like, I really like the game a lot, just that it gets, like, the difficulty scaling doesn't feel right towards the end. Maybe that's just because I farmed too much or something. I didn't farm. I didn't really farm. I was kind of just doing side missions, and I was just playing the game I was playing, and it just felt like I got towards the end, and nothing was really a challenge for me anymore. Like the enemies, I just run at them, hit them, and then oh no, there's 3 other people coming towards me.
Yeah. And
that wasn't like in Dark Souls. You're like, oh fuck, all right, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Whereas here, I'm like, oh, that's fine. Earlier on in the game, I was like, that's a problem.
Yeah.
this is not good. But at this stage, I'm like, I'll just take the damage and I'll kill this guy. I'll heal
Right.
up, and I'll focus the next person. Yeah,
Yeah.
and kind of just switch through. So I hope they can sort of fix that with some updates.
Fuck you. What, before I get to play it on easy mode? What a
Did you get a
fuck.
code yet?
No, I didn't get a code.
No.
I'll pick it up. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
it's. Well, I like it's a good game. It's.
You were
I
super
gave it.
keen for me to get it.
Yeah, because I wanted your thoughts on the combat.
Right,
Because I
right,
like the
right.
combat.
Yeah,
I
right.
love what they're doing with the combat. But that was before it got really easy.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, okay.
So, and I like the blocking system. I think that's so smart. That's really cool. I hope someone else uses that, like From Software uses that. That'd be sick.
Yeah.
But I really like the picking the limbs as well, like which body parts you want to attack, and like, oh, I'm trying to build an armor set and I need the arm part. So then you start looking for guys that have armor, and you start going after those guys all the time.
Imagine in a traditional From Software horror style game where you're like chopping off arms, but they're not like robot arms. They're like a fucking werewolf arm or something, and suddenly you've got like a fucking claw. And you could do some real cool body horror type shit with that idea. That'd be fucking rad. Give yourself like super jump with like the right set of legs, or like fucking tentacles. You can walk up walls or some shit. That'd be fucking sick.
Yeah,
that'd be rad.
And so they do that sort of thing in terms of like, you put these specific leg pieces on, it'll be like, oh, your evade cost is minus 14% or something like that. And but every armor set is different. They've all got different types of properties, and you mix and match. And I feel like I used nearly the same armor set the entire game.
Right.
Like I looked around for different ones. I was like, no, I'm pretty happy with these ones. Like if like there was a point where I got up to a fight and I switched out some of my weapons because I was going to do more damage with a fire-based weapon or something like that, or electricity-based. So there's occasions where I was like, I'm going to switch out these weapons to make this fight a bit easier. But for the most part, yeah, I just think the combat's really good. It's just a shame that the difficulty doesn't scale very well.
Right.
And the bosses are kind of... There's some good bosses in there, and then it's like, man, they're just throwing... Like, it seemed like they put the really good bosses up front.
Yeah, right.
Then,
I guess it's one of those things, right? Like, do they expect people to just not finish it, right?
yeah. Oh, but like, it seems like they've learnt a lot, and they've got a good community that play that game, or that like they've taken some really interesting ideas. The other things they put in there is an online feature as well. So they've gone full Dark Souls, and like you can leave messages for people.
Ah, cool.
They have like graffiti, and so there were people leaving messages during the review period, and
Nice.
I was leaving messages for people as well, which is really cool. And it'd be like there's a secret stash up ahead, or like there's a sniper up in the whatever, and it's just graffiti that you can put down. I think there's three different icons there's three different like sort of graffiti icons that you can put down, but there's a ton of different icons. So there's like, you could put like an arrow pointing right with a man, like a death symbol, and then like a sniper scope or something like that type of thing.
Did you
just
troll?
to point things out.
Do any trolling? People to
I
jump
saw
off
some
stuff?
people, doing that, and there was one, and I was like, "There's definitely nothing down there," and I liked it and things like that. And there was other ones where people were pointing out chests that were hard to find, and that sort of thing. The other thing they do is you can put a banner down, and you can hide them in certain areas, and they last for a certain amount of time. And the more people that find it, the less tech scrap you get. And so the less people that find it, the more tech scrap you get. So it's like a hide and seek type game.
Right. Okay.
And what was the other one? Is there's some other online stuff. Oh, there's revenge enemies as well. So people that get killed by enemies will be marked in your game as a revenge enemy. And once you kill them, I think they're a bit more beefier. But once you kill them, you get a bunch of resources, and it'll pop up on your screen and say like you've avenged so and so, whoever the player was that was killed by them.
Right.
And so there's like a bit more online connectivity going on in the game. not as you're not calling in players to come help you during boss fights or invading other players' games or anything like that. But yeah, there's a few things in there. So yeah, I feel like they've the Surge. I played, I feel like 4 or 5 hours of the original Surge. I enjoyed the combat, like I got what they're going for, but it didn't really capture me that much. Whereas this game, like I was so in. There was a point where it just clicked, and I was like, all right, this is so good. And unfortunately, aside from the technical issues and just things I talked about with the like the difficulty and that enemies sort of reoccurring and that sort of thing, that's where I was like, oh man, that's a bit disappointing. But I like where they're going. Like if they come out with another game like this, because this isn't the first Souls like they've done. They did, was it Lords of Fallen? I feel like was the other ones they did.
Yeah, Lords of the Fallen.
Yeah. So like they're learning, and they these aren't huge budget games, but I feel like they're doing a pretty good job. Like if you're looking for a Dark Souls or Souls-like game, don't have huge expectations, but I think it does some really interesting things that sort of push the genre in an interesting direction. They're not like doing exactly the same stuff as what From Software does. They're trying new systems and putting interesting things in there, so that's really cool. So yeah, I really dug it. I had fun with it.
Cool.
Yeah, just hopefully they fix some of those problems. And I had a quick browse through some of the reviews today, and it seems like it's getting between 7s and 8.5s.
Yeah.
There.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's my games. That's what I was playing.
Dope. That's all we got.
Right. Should we do some newses?
Let's do some newses. Let's start off with one that's not on the list. Apple's Game Pass subscription came out this week, and so Google Play also announced their own pass that's coming out in the US this week. I think you can get it for $2 a month for 12 months, and then it's going to go to $5 a month or something like that, which is pretty rad. That's cool. We're always looking for new mobile games, and the one thing that both these subscriptions hold above everything else is that it's supposed to be ad-free and not microtransaction based. So I suspect we will be able to get some. Those are the kinds of games we're always looking out for, except for Empires and Puzzles, obviously, which I guess is microtransaction based, but you don't need to do them at all. Yeah, like I think that's pretty cool. That like I was waiting for the Android version to come out, or at least I was going to go look up all the fucking Apple ones to find what games were on Apple that I could get on Android. I believe the Google Play one is not just games. I think it's apps as well. There's some apps in the mix, which is slick. Anyway, just figured I'd point that out.
Cool.
So, yeah. No idea of the quality of the apps yet, but I know that the Apple one has gone over quite well. My old ass iPad isn't up to scratch to play any of the games on it, so sweet. Anyway, that's that. We've also got the Switch Lite. Joy-Cons on the Switch Lite are already exhibiting drift, which is what I said would be the problem with the Switch Lite from day dot, and it's already happening. Drift is when the thumbsticks stop working as they're supposed to, and it is literally built from the ground up. They will never be able to fix it unless they entirely reconstruct the Joy-Cons, which apparently they didn't do. But the problem with the Switch Lite is that you can't just fucking replace the Joy-Cons. You have to replace the entire console. So, everyone I know that is buying one for their children. Children are, of course, notoriously gentle on game consoles, so I don't think the drift will be much of a problem. It'll probably go really well for anyone who's bought a Switch Lite for their children. Top-notch purchase decision there. And yeah, that's about it. Any thoughts, Luke? Oh, you can sign up to the Google Play. I didn't even let you talk about that one. I just sort of fucking jumped straight in. You'll be able to sign up because you're an Android boy.
Yeah, I just changed my phone from Australia to US on Google.
Nice.
So I think it takes a couple of days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, when it's available, you can let us know what it's like. What about the Switch? Any thoughts on the Switch?
No, don't care.
I was correct. That's correct. You are right. I was correct.
They're not putting out any games that I want to play, so.
Not exclusively, anyway.
No.
Yeah.
Unless they want to remake Donkey Kong Country. Fuck yeah, I'll play that.
Oh, yeah?
I'm just joking. Stop remaking fucking video games.
I was going to say.
Did you see, I feel like, what is it? What was that Zelda game that came out? Link's Awakening? It's like one of the highest rated games of this year. It's fucking bonkers.
I was thinking before, it hasn't been a strong year for games. Outside of Borderlands 3, I can't really think of the games that I absolutely fucking love. There's definitely something. I'm definitely blanking
Apex,
on...
Control, Sekiro is up there.
Oh, Control. I was blanking on Control. Apex, yeah, obviously I love Apex, but the problem with the old Battle Royale games is that, if you release them at the start of the year, it's not that you forget them by the end of the year when Game of the Year rolls around. It's more that you have burnt out on them by the time it gets to that. Yeah.
I mean, there's some other stuff coming. Death Stranding.
The jury is out. The Outer Worlds is the only game I'm really looking forward to that's left.
Yeah,
I'm going to play the fuck out of that. I will now also check out The Surge too. But yeah, otherwise
it's not Game of the Year material.
All right then.
I gave it a 7. All right, and that's me giving it a 7.
Yeah, that's a good score. What?
Yeah, that's what I said. It's good. I like it.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like that's a good score. Like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But that's like for everyone else, that's like a 9.
That's what I'm saying. Right? You gave it 7.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty high score. So I was going to check it out, but apparently
maybe I went 6.
Maybe, yeah. You've set my expectations too high with your 7. Yeah, don't give a fuck. Let's have a quick squiz. Breakpoints, don't care. Too much spaghetti and Skittles. What the fuck? Is there anything else? The Outer Worlds, the day after Modern Warfare, which is awesome. There's that. Yufkas.
Nope.
Doom Eternal. Oh my god. Doom. Yeah. Forgot about Doom. Okay. Forgot about Dre. Yeah. I'm in for Doom Eternal. Very much in. But yeah.
Did you see this Kojima thing the other day? Where everybody flipped out on Twitter because he murdered a bunch of children?
It was like, the jokes around it were pretty funny. They were pretty good. I liked Mark Serrell's one, where he quoted fucking Denham Renham, or whatever the fuck his name was, from the IT crowd. Where he's like, well, when I started this company, I had a dream. I had £6 million. Right? Like, it definitely seemed like Kojima was like, I did everything on my own. I never had a fucking chance. But you did have the backing of the biggest fucking corporation, biggest console corporation. Well, until Nintendo. Yeah, like you did do well. But no, apparently it was just a mistranslation, right? Apparently his Twitter team's just fucking shit. Or is it not his Twitter team? Is it just some, like, dude?
I think he's got a translator that does it.
On 2015, 12, 16, I became independent. No office, just a tiny room, no staff, no machines, nothing at all. All I had was this KGP logo, notepad and pen, my own PC. I started to work on the console, concept while recruiting staff, finding office and game engine, had a dream and connection, and that's all. And yeah, $6 million from Sony. Classic. And then the other one he did was a Hideo Kojima game means the declaration of me doing concept produce produce. Original story, script setting, game design, casting, dealing, directing, difficulty adjustments, promoting, visual design, editing, supervising the merch, which people are clarifying that all he was saying was that he was involved with. He didn't do it all himself or wasn't in charge of it all. He was just a part of every part of that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, people were losing their shit. Look, the one where he said he had nothing but a dream, hilarious. But yeah, the mistranslated tweet, that's a bit of a rough one.
Yeah, I thought it was. There's more things to get angry, or better things to get angry about than that sort of thing. People were fucking firing out, and I was like, "You guys are idiots."
Yeah, let's just chill. Chill. Finally, Warner Bros. Teasing something, most likely Batman Arkham related.
Yeah. So this started this week, or this weekend, when is it the 80th anniversary of the Batmans? And yeah, the Warner Brothers Montreal Twitter account came alive after, I think the last tweet was in, I think it was 2015. I can probably check that really quickly, but that's what I think it is off the top of my head. September 2015 was the last time they tweeted, and they put up a tweet yesterday which said, Warner Brothers Montreal is proud to celebrate Batman's 80th anniversary with the rest of the world during Batman Day. And they put up a video of the bat signal, which was lit up on a building in Montreal. A bunch of cities around the world did it, but this one was in Montreal, and went for about 30 seconds. And then during that video, for a slight second, you would see flashes of images come up, and there were 4 in total. And anyway, this went around everywhere. People were doing like Photoshop things with them, clearing up the images and that sort of stuff. And I guess people have determined that it's probably got something to do with with Batman Arkham, or at least some sort of Batman game. Warner Bros. Montreal did make a Batman Arkham game called Origins, which was fine. It was okay. And so yeah, this one is, people are saying that it's probably got something to do with Quarter Owls, and judging by some of the logos that are coming, or at least maybe even multiple factions that are going to be present in the game. And and then a couple hours ago, they released a second teaser, which is all the logos very clearly displayed, morphing from one logo to another. So yeah, there's definitely something going on. We don't know what it is. And they've got a tagline that says "Capture the Night" on this Twitter message as well. So that's where we're at. There's 2 events tomorrow that I'm aware of. One of them is a PlayStation State of Play event, where they're going to be talking about, I think the one they've been spruiking is The Last of Us Part 2. And there's also an Xbox event tomorrow as well. And it's likely we're going to see something maybe at one of those events.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. The alternative is that the Game Awards is coming up. And
right.
I mean, that's still a couple of months away.
Yeah, I think now's the time for it.
Yeah. So,
remember when ARGs were like complex things where fucking Damon Lindelof was like teasing lost shit for fucking months on end or some shit, and now it's like, it's a Twitter video with 4 frames. Anyway, I'll tell you later this week. Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we'll find out more when that comes to life. But did you end up playing Origins at all? I feel like you didn't.
No, I didn't. I played at a preview event and didn't really click with me. For me, the gameplay of the Batman games has always been sort of secondary to the storytelling, and I didn't really like what I saw from Origins, so I didn't get into it. Didn't give it a shot, really.
Right.
Yeah, and fuck, in the case of Knight, the gameplay actively harms my enjoyment of the storytelling. So there's that.
Hmm.
Yeah, Arkham City is still the best of the series, in my opinion.
Sure.
Finally.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see what they do.
Oh yeah.
Sounds like Court of Owls, something Ra's al Ghul is in there as well.
I liked the Court of Owls arc. I know you didn't, but
I maybe need to reread it. I just because it was one of the first New 52s, right? They did
yeah, yeah, it was right at the start.
storylines.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I just couldn't get into it.
I reckon they could tell some really interesting stories out of that. Yeah,
Anyway, we might be talking about that next week, I guess.
might be true.
Yeah, yeah. Still keen to see whatever that's going on with State of Play though, and this Xbox stuff. I
Yeah.
want to see some Last of Us. What's going on with that game? That's out in a couple months.
Okay. I don't care.
All right. Well, fair enough. That's the news. Do we have any questions?
We do not.
All right. That's fine. That's okay.
It is. It's fine. Fine. Whatever. Fine.
Just
Fine.
don't email us.
Yeah. Whatever.
All right. The Gap. You can find us on iTunes, Android, Windows Store, Spotify, YouTube. Is that everything? Probably. If you want to email us, thegapodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Discord, thegapodcast.com/Discord if you want to jump in and chat with people. You can do that.
Yep.
Or play video games.
Yep.
And you can find us on social media, twitter.com/thegapodcast, facebook.com/thegapodcast. You can find us on YouTube, thegapodcast.com/YouTube. You can find our website, thegapodcast.com. It's got all the links to things we talked about, including past episodes of the show. If you'd like to check them out, you can. And that's all run by our Patreon members who help support the show. If you want to help do that, you can go to patreon.com/gapodcast and hit the subscribe thing. And then Joab gets money.
Joe, I've never seen any money. You get all the money.
It goes.
I'm still grateful.
It goes. It goes into help running the site when
Yes.
when it does run. We try and keep it up and running.
Well, yeah. It helps the hamster run on the fucking wheel that is apparently running our server. Yeah.
It crashed the other day.
Shocking.
Like the day I was putting the podcast up.
Oh yeah,
I
it took
usually put it
everything
up
down, right?
the night. Yeah, like there was an update that went through WordPress, and it fucking like WordPress must have crashed halfway through, and like it just decided to come back up. I'm like, oh, this is good. Like, I like got stuff to do. I'm like trying to do the Borderlands. I'm trying to do fucking the Surge, which I couldn't talk about at that stage, and then I'm trying to do like moving, and then the site goes down. I'm like, oh, awesome. Yeah, and then eventually I got it back up and running. I like took out all the fucking plugins that the site uses, got them all back up and running, and yeah, it's now working again. So thank goodness.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know. It
Thanks to
might
our
have been the
patrons.
last show last week. I just could have been like, fuck it, I'm done.
We're out. We're out, baby.
It's crashed. I don't know what to do anymore.
Can't get it back up. It's too much effort.
There's
Too hard
backups, but I
for
don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do with them.
Yep.
Yeah. So thank you everyone that helped support the show. Much appreciated. And I think that is it. Have you got anything you want to pimp out for this week?
Head to Red Bull, check out my, writing about how kill streaks fuck Call of Duty, and also I got a big story about leveling up away from the keyboard. I spoke to a bunch of like players about basically how physical fitness helps them play better, and I found some really interesting shit along the way as well. Like, do you know chess
It's easier
players?
to pull down on the mouse
When-
strength.
Yeah, like you can use a heavier mouse and stuff as well,
Yeah.
which is obviously an improvement. Do you know fucking chess players lose fucking like straight up over the course of a single chess match will lose kilograms in weight. Like they exert so much fucking effort that they like so much energy that they lose weight while playing chess and shit.
Doing what? Chess isn't a sport.
Oh.
Oh,
But yeah, it's like heavy duty. Like
yeah.
people that just don't consider how much goes into that kind of shit. And you look at someone like fucking Dota, right, where they're playing for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on end in a best of 5, right? You remember I remember from the last True Sight how they were like talking about how at a certain point you just don't want to play anymore because you're exhausted. Like you haven't done anything, but you're exhausted. Yeah, people never take that shit into consideration.
Yep,
it's huge. Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, so
interesting.
Yeah, should be good. I think it'll be up on Friday. Waiting on a couple of answers back, but yeah, when it goes up, it'll be up.
Nice.
And what about you?
You can head to Stevivor.com, check out The Surge 2 review. Went up today, so you can definitely go read that if you'd like to. It was longish. I think I wrote 1,800, 1,600 words or something. There was stuff I cut because I was like, this is too fucking long. I went on for ages, just about random shit. It was too long. It was late. I was grumpy.
Long reviews are better. What are you doing?
Yeah, I know. I usually like 1,000 words, and then I'm good. But yeah, I don't know.
The longer the better. The longer the better. I don't think I've written anything that's 1,000 words in fucking 7 years.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm capable anymore.
Yeah.
I just waffle on too much.
1,000 words.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know.
Anyway, you do that, and I think that is it. Next week, we'll be talking about Apex. I'm going to an Apex event for Season 3 this week.
Cool. Awesome.
And so we'll get some more details about that. They've been teasing crypto on the site. Sorry, in the game they've been teasing it, and on their website and that sort of stuff. So I guess we'll find out more about that very soon. I think the last day of Season 2 is early next week, like Monday or Sunday.
Wow.
Around then. Yeah.
Nice.
And that's it. So I'll be up to about next week.
Sweet.
Not sure about what else, but we'll be here.
Tight.
Nice. All right. Well, that's it. See you all next week.
Bye.